really winding it up this end.
So what's new over there? How crazy is it getting? Yeah, and I have no problem with you recording it. I just want to record it because I want it to get out, and I'm going to break some of the pieces out for a few people. There's so much going on here, Miles. I'd love to tell you how smart I am, but a lot of this is just they are really sloppy. And if you watch, you can see what they're up to, right?
Well, we've got a really bad government here. We got a really bad government. I interviewed Michael Shrimpton, and he is a basically there's a hell of a file that the Russians have on Starmer, our prime minister. Has found that has got the file which is on Starmer. Basically, our prime minister is worse than Tony Blair. If you could get anybody,
I think
recording in progress.
I think they're all bad right now. Like it is absolutely insane what is happening.
It's not insane because they are our enemy and they are killing us. So we shouldn't complain. We need to be dealing with that situation.
We're going to today. You would not believe.
Catherine Austin Fitz has done a show, and basically she's saying, why are we expecting our enemies to save us?
We're not.
Well, yeah, well.
Sorry, you and I aren't, and maybe she isn't, and there's other people who aren't as well. But enough people are just absolutely entrained to think that their government is going to save them. And it's just absolutely nuts that they have so much faith. I just can't believe the blind allegiance they have. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you here. I'm going to, I can always edit this later. So today, hello everyone. Today is September 25th, 2024, and I'm on with the absolutely incredible Miles Johnson from the Basis Project.
Oh
and
my
what
God.
We're going to talk about, no pressure. What we're going to talk about today is the globalist agenda, climate change, and how they are doing it. Because I get tired of people telling me that I've got to follow this one person or this one group or this one group's behind it. And when we see the force that they have organized and how they're coming at us. So we're going to look at the what and we're going to look at the how. And I know even Miles, you'll be able to take some of this information when I start to show you how they're setting it up, and you guys can do it in the UK. I'm going to talk about the US and where their websites are, how organized they are. These people are absolutely evil. And we know what's happening at the local levels of government. But what people don't understand yet is how they're pulling it off. And we like to think that there's mostly good people on this planet. I think that's just, that's hopium. There's a lot of people in these positions right across the board who will do anything for money. I used to think it was stupidity and greed was the problem. And some people are so greedy, they will do stupid things. But
well, a lot of them have been swapped out. They're not human.
I believe that to a degree, but I think where a lot of this is happening is at the local level. They have not been swapped out. They're just greedy. They're so greedy, they will do stupid things. But the problem is the stupidity isn't coming at their expense. It's coming at our expense with some of the policies they're bringing in, right? So I hope you bear with me here, Miles. I'm
fine. Fine. Everything's fine.
There we go. So what we're going to talk about is the climate change and the globalist agenda. I'm just going to try to move this thing out of my way here if I can. So what is happening is the globalist agenda and climate change. They've got people so turned around that they don't understand what this climate change is all about. I think a lot of it is a distraction. And evil has a pulse, a heart rate, and a presence, and it has a mandate. And that's what we're about to start looking at how they're doing this. So people tell me I need to follow this group called ICLEI. So I look at this group and I'm going to come into it. But what I found was we have more than one organization globally and within our countries, within our provinces or states that are working together. So we have ICLEI, for local governments and sustainability. Have you heard about the bird flu summit that's happening on October 2nd to the 6th in Washington, D.C.? They're basically telling the police how to work together to lock us down, how to quarantine us. They're going to stockpile the food. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We've got the C40 cities. We've got the global governance covenant of mayors there on the right. We've got the United Cities and local governments. I only came across them. I hadn't even heard about them. But imagine all of them trying to control different aspects of your municipal government, your regional government, your provincial government. We've got the global university systems because the universities are behind it. We've got Detroit 2030. I'm going to go into that and how you can find out what cities in the United States are being locked down and who the partners are. I think some of them, Miles, they even have it that you can be a platinum member, a gold member, a silver member, and a bronze member, and you pay so much to be part of this group to imprison people. Like it's just
And
nefarious,
it'll
right?
never happen to them.
No, and that's the true part of the absolute insanity, in my opinion. They actually think they're within their rights. So the UN just came out with a pact for silence. I think yesterday we have the International Federation of Medicine. So these are students. It was founded in 1951 and run for and by the medical students on a nonprofit basis. What's interesting here, Miles, in Waterloo Region, we have a police. I guess he's the chief of police, but he's partnering with academia and he gets to sign off on the research requests from the students. So it's going to be student run research. So your university is not accountable, your professors are not accountable, and the police are not accountable. Like this is just evil. And what's happened is the Deputy Minister Freeland has given the local universities, I think, $2.6 billion, but now the police have their own sustainability goals. So they have their own business plan. I think they're going to get paid to help imprison us. We've got the World Health Organization, the World Medical Association. We've got the Federation for Canadian Municipalities. We have the government, the Senate. We have Bill 293. Have you heard about that one? That
No.
they're bringing in. So what they're planning in Ontario or Canada, they're bringing in Bill C293. So they say that they can create a pandemic and do whatever they want. So they're getting desperate. But this is what ties in with the bird flu summit. They're going to bring people in globally to show them how to do it. And it's interesting, the categories for the international bird flu, I'm going to show you some of that later. You either are going to be government, non-GO, or corporate. So basically, you're the only people who get to make a difference and lock people up. So who else have I got here? I've got CUPE for Ontario. CUPE is the Canadian Union for Public Employees. And what's happened is these researchers at the university, there's 2,000 of them, are now under CUPE. So they're going to be protected by Trudeau's unions while they go and do all this research on people. So this is going to be the blending with the technology. This is going to be the AI, what they're going to try to monitor us, wearables, injectables, all kinds of things. And then we have Invest Ontario, where our premier just announced that any municipality can punch in the parameters of their project they're working on. And there's going to be automatic funding who's going to pop up and pay for these projects. And I'm watching some of the local governments all pretend that's got to be taxpayers, that they're going to put the taxes up. They're all lying. They're all full of crap. So they've got it already funded. And then I put Smart Region Waterloo in here because Waterloo Region is going to be the next Silicon Valley of the North. So they are really using us as a prototype. So that's why I put them in. But I wanted just to explain this. So ICLEI. So ICLEI is Local Governments for Sustainability, is a global network working with more than 2,500 local and regional governments committed to sustainable urban development. So, and it goes on to talk a little more about them. So they have 2,500. They have just had a conference in Brazil. And they had over, I think they said 1,000 people were there from Brazil or from around the world. And what they're doing is they've broken themselves out. So why I'm trying to present it the way I am, that we can see how it is with all of these organizations. So ICLEI has what they call regional executive committees. The areas they focus on, think of it as a global corporation. Africa, East Asia, Europe, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, North America, Oceania, which they're calling New Zealand and Australia, South America, and South Asia. So those are the areas that they've broken it down to manageable bites. So we have to go in and see if you're whatever continent you're on, how it's set up for your area. So this is where it says they have 1,500 attendees from 95 countries. 100. You notice they're saying mayors and governors. In Canada, they all seem to be stuck that it has to be the mayors. It's the mayors. It's the mayors. When they're saying mayors and governors, you think in the United States, the governors would be the equivalent of your premier. So I don't know how it's broken down in the United
Kingdom. We're just told what to do, and a lot of the people practically ignore their councils because it's only the large conurbations have mayors, so to speak, but they want to split us up into regions along the old kingdoms like Wessex, the old kingdoms before the Saxons came or whatever, but that sort of era, and it's not looking good here.
No, it's not looking good anywhere, but I'm hoping that we can cover up enough information today that people can start to look where to go and like where to look to see what exactly is happening.
Very important what you're talking about.
Organizations, right? Okay, so this is going to sound, I don't know what this is going to sound like. So this was their Congress outcome. So the strategic vision from 2024 to 2030. Then you look a little further down, it goes the report. Every year, ICLEI undertakes hundreds of activities alongside our local, regional, and regional governments, members to deliver sustainable development through our 5 paths, which is zero emission. These people are stupid. Nature-based, which is anything but equitable, only if you have a vertical and a horizontal smile. And I'm going to get to that. It's all about the women taking over. Resilient and circular development. And then it goes down a little further and it says ICLEI Gender Declaration. So what they're trying to do in all these organizations is forward the women. So I don't have anything against women. I have something against self-centered, self-absorbed, egotistical women who don't really give a damn about anybody but themselves. But that's more of a personality. What I'm finding in a lot of these organizations, they're all saying the inequality is the women are not being treated properly. They're making it look like it could be a race issue, but what it comes down to, the women want the power. Even in the local area, Wilmot, the women want the agriculture. I think they want the farmers gone. This is the mayor, Salonen, Jen Fenning. Who else was in there? All the NDPs all over this. But I think what they want is to get rid of the men because they think that they can do it without the men. And this is what I think is the biggest problem that we're dealing with is we have everybody working on certain agendas, but they're not being honest and forthwith.
Well, the men as children don't have a future.
Not with these women. These women are feminazis. Like they are so ugly and a lot of them are in the universities. I'm not implying that everybody who's gone to university is bad, but the ones who are in there right now, they're running all the social programs. And when I look, so this is going to go a little off topic, but when I look at what the women who are running the finances and who are running the, where the grants are going to be handed out and who are running the humanities, they're running, like, let's say they're running the daycares. The only thing they have in common is their degree is in philosophy. The study of philosophy is the study of a belief. These women, so this is the LBGT, the DEI, all of this, all they have in common.
I've just had a thought at the recent media production and broadcast equipment show. There was a feminist. It wasn't feminist. It was an all woman production group, and the idea was, I mean, I'm very pro women. I'm very pro, and I was trying to support them. They didn't want to talk to me at all.
But
the key thing that I noticed that within their area of the show, they were all buzzing around like flies do. They were it was like a hive.
Yeah.
It was like
I believe that.
Group. And that's what I want to get across. It was hive. These weren't independent thinking. They were flying in amongst themselves as insects do.
And I think they convince themselves that they have their whatever they want, that it's so important that they stay together and huddle. I see it with some of the weaker men here as well, like with some of the environmental groups. They all stick together because they can only talk to each other because they've got the plan. But they have something wrong. We used to call that
cliques, but this was a
this is beyond it.
Hive behavior pattern. I've only just come up with that, so I needed to put that into the conversation.
And I think that's great that you're putting it in because I think that's true. I think I think they talk a lot about narcissism, and I think the psychopaths came up with the term that the narcissists are the evil because narcissists just love themselves. But the psychopaths, it is a hive mentality. They all think the same way. I think when they look around a room, if their eyes meet, they intuitively know who each other is just because they know they're both hunting or all hunting. They have a way of connecting. This is what I get. I look at the mental health community in Canada and the United States. The American Psychiatric Association wants to decriminalize pedophilia. Wonder where the pedophiles are. Huh. Like it's like they can't even, people can't even fathom that they're right in front of our faces. like whatever. So let's say it was a corporate. Let's say that the money was
If
their
you could,
God.
when you're not sharing, could you put yourself on full? Because I'm looking at a picture of a still frame of something next story, but it's just if you're,
Okay,
it's just if you could, it
I
needs a
will
lot
just
more work
remind
on your
me.
end.
Okay,
Anyway,
remind me to do that. But I'm okay. So let's come back to this guy because I've got about 80 slides to go through. So this man is Gino Van Beggen. He's going to be the new Secretary General. And I think Secretary General has a military tone to it, but the UN, that's who's the head of the UN. That's what they go by as Secretary General. So he's come out and he tells us they're using appointed employees such as city planners, managers of sustainability and development. And so what he's saying, so we're all told to go to our regional councils or our local council and talk to the elected officials. That's not what he's saying. He's saying it's the city planners. It's the people who are appointed by the municipalities and the townships for the long-term positions. Hang on a sec. So it's the people who are appointed there, who are there for 20 years. And I'm going to call one Harold O'Krafka out in Wilmot. It took me the longest time to figure this out. So he doesn't sit there. He doesn't take the heat. He doesn't go and ask to be elected, but he sits there and watches. Every so many years, they come out with a new plan, and they come out with a plan, and then they come out with an updated plan. And then they've got another updated plan and another updated plan. But these are the people who know exactly what is going on. I've got a slide at the end, Miles, and I'm going to show people how to go in and start making profiles on these individuals because that's what we need to do, I think.
well,
I've
Catherine
done
Austin
my,
Fitz, I just wanted to say, has just done a major presentation criticizing people on do, I may have said it already, is don't expect your enemy to help you.
right. Oh, exactly. They're laughing at you. They're mocking you. We've got a mayor here. She thinks she's so funny and so smart, and she changes the rules every time somebody comes up to delegate. And the one time I was talking about assaults happening at a rec center, as soon as I mentioned sexual assaults, this is Natasha Solon, the mayor out in Wilmot. Her mother is Carolyn Solon, and I'm going to talk about her. She's a lot more important than we think. As soon as I mentioned it, her hand flies to the microphone. The women run the child sex rings in Canada, the US, the UK. It's the women running them. But as soon as I mentioned it, her hand flies to the microphone. I mentioned it again Monday as something else had come up, and right away she stops me. So watch to see who stops you from speaking up. She changes the rules. So this just wasn't appropriate. So the first time I brought it up, we're not at the right stage of the presentation to talk about it. The next time I bring it up, it's not appropriate. She just keeps making up excuses as she goes. So it's important that we understand how they operate because until you go back, I was told one time I couldn't delegate on a particular topic because it was what was I told? Because it was under correspondence. And then I go back and I just start flipping through previous council meetings, which are all recorded and on YouTube, but they let their chosen people delegate on correspondence. So they sit there and they have their clerks and their deputy clerks that just sit there and try to find a reason why you can't talk about certain things. They're all in it together. They probably have 20 employees in a township that has maybe 20,000 people. Why do they need so many employees? Because they got to keep the show on the road. They got to keep it all hidden. They've got to control the conversation as they roll out this new nefarious agenda. That's kind of what I'm coming up with. Or they're grossly incompetent, which I don't think it is. So at this
That's a
conference
ploy.
down, totally, it's just their game, right? But you said the hive mentality. Can we apply that to this? That they all work together in the municipality. So they all hide the information. They all kind of try to cover for each other. There was a fellow, this was back in August, I delegated, and he gave me his card, which probably wasn't the smartest thing for him to do. But, and I'm sitting there and I call him, he calls back. I record the conversation for about an hour and 45 minutes. I go in the next time to the meeting. He walks over to the counselors. So he's a director of community services. He walks over to the counselors. Next thing you know, they've got their heads down. They all turn and look at me. You think I would be the one helping him try to be able to do his job and protect the people in his area? No, I'm the enemy. Do you know what I'm saying? So nobody can imagine they all stick together. That's exactly what they do. So this here, Samantha Dixon, again, this is back to the ICLEI conference in Brazil. So she's the Red Cross. So we all know what Red Cross is. But my point is, I'm just trying to point out how organized they are. They have got every aspect of whatever they need to roll out. They've got it covered within these organizations. So this is where I'm having a little bit of trouble with smart people at the universities. Everything is research grants, research, research, research. We have 40 research hospitals in Canada, and then we've got 4, just put another one up in Waterloo and another one down in Hamilton. Why do we need so much research if we're not at a certain stage within the medical field by now that they know what they're doing? Why do they need so much research? Because they're going to blend us with frequencies. They're going to create digital twins of us. They're going to send us frequencies, but they need the students to do it. So people can call this racist if they want. I don't know what group of people you're getting predominantly for immigration in the UK, but here it's East Indians. What are East Indians known for on the positive? Their computer skills.
Yeah.
So these East Indians are going to be in AI. They're going to be in digital health. I've looked in Conestoga College. They're in life sciences. They're in all of this. So you're going to have some little turd of a person whose mind might not even be fully mature if they're under 25, getting to decide what they're going to research with you. And what came up for a few of us here, we realized they really want the kids. It's all about the kids. Even the UN has announced it again with this path of silence that it's about the youth. Who's to say they don't send them sexual frequencies and then turn around and say, well, the kids are all sexual from birth and we're going to decriminalize pedophilia? Why that came up, this was years ago, Miles. This was probably before I even started looking at any of this. And I remember watching, I think she might have been a mayor or a counselor in a city in the United States. I know she was Black, but she came out and she said, I know you're mad at me because I won't go along with whatever the plan was. And you're sending me frequencies and you're sending me sexual stimulation. She knew that it wasn't her body, but they were sending her frequencies. Who's to say these people have the integrity, that they have the maturity, that they have the morality, that they know right from wrong? Or they get told, like most little psychopaths in our society or sociopaths, you can go do this because you're special. You're a researcher, you're special. I shouldn't say this, but the good news, well, I won't say this, never mind. But my point is, who's to say these people have the integrity to do the right thing? And then we know the universities always say, hey, it's the students. There was 2 Frosh weeks. It was back in 2013, 2 universities in Canada. They were pro-rape chanting minors in Frosh weeks. So they had the student body, the older students pro-rape chanting, the younger ones, probably to see whose eyes lit up. So then they record it, they get filmed, it goes to the news media. They go and they interview the dean of business of one of them. He just said, we didn't know if they were doing this. This is the students. So these people are shallow as can be. They know to blame the students. Nobody's going to get arrested for it or charged for it. There's something called, there's emotional intelligence. There's book smart and street smart. Sometimes you need a balance. So there's certain things I don't know. I don't know how to fix my car. I know how to pick a good mechanic. Like there's things that you don't have to know about, but some of these people are so book smart, they have no common sense. Who says they get to decide what research they're doing on us? And the other part, I'm not going into this part on any great level today. The other thing I looked up was the university network hospitals. Do you know who's going to be doing the digital health and who's going to be sending it to you? Microsoft virtual teams.
Yeah,
that
Microsoft,
should scare people.
Yeah, good guys. Yeah, helping us.
So you think of Bill Gates and the viruses in the computer. So can you imagine them making us sick and then having to come back and fix us? Like that's kind of what I'm seeing, right? So I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm just saying we finally understand what they're up to. So they're creating their own credit and bond market. They're creating their own finances, as you can see here. And I think what happens is if you don't go along with them, you're not going to get a certain amount of funding. So you have to, as a community, go along with whatever their zero emissions are, and they have their people in place, whether that's going to change or not. But it says on June 18th, ICLEI and the Climate Bonds Initiative announced a strategic partnership to empower local governments by linking high-impact subnational climate projects with essential financial resources and expertise. So this is how organized evil is.
I don't think we're going to get as far as 2050 because the climate with the Maunder minimum and the pole shift they're not factoring any of that stuff in.
And I hear you on that. I don't look into it a lot, although I do know things are changing here. I know people are losing their balance, and I can't remember who said it was Greg Braden that they figure back in March the inner core of the Earth stopped rotating. So I
That's
hear
the
what you're
inner core is nothing to do with it. The North Pole, South Pole are on 43 degrees off.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I know things are changing, but we have two choices, Miles. We wait and say, okay, let's wait and see if it does happen in time and none of this is going to
But
matter. And
that's because the sun is changing. And we got incoming. Jupiter's losing its rings. Not Jupiter, Saturn.
Saturn. So I do recognize that things are happening on a different level, but I'm trying to keep it for the people who are focused in more of the 3D for this part of the presentation,
Yes.
just so that they can have actionable steps to go into their own community, look at what's being presented, look at who's doing it, look at the roles they have, so that maybe they can get in front of it, because we're told that people aren't going to be able to walk down the street when this is all comes out, and they're assuming it's going to be the high up in the governments. I think it's going to be your neighborhood F-tard planner who's been lying to your face for the last 20 years, collecting a salary that your taxes pay him or her, who's been lying to your face, selling you out. So that's kind of where I see. So I'm trying to talk about what's going on
Yeah.
on the presentation, but this is where we're going with this. So I want people to look at the mayor when she gives you a smile and just give her the stink eye. Know that she knows that you know.
I
So
think
I'm
they need to
watching this.
understand that we are after them. There will be no
They need
place
they,
on this earth for them. We are after them. We are
so they
watching.
all 100%, and they'll love the little hamlet they're in, but when they find out the evil that they're planning and perpetuating. And so I'll give an example. Somebody was one of the consultants was showing an area where they're making these 15-minute, I'm going to call them corridors. We're told they're cities, but it would be like a new subdivision that's coming in. And the one fellow had said, I'm listening to him delegate before I do, and I'm looking at it. They have 487 units going in on 48 acres, but they only have 32 single dwelling homes based on the site model. So I'm asking about it, and Mayor all smiles and says, "No, we're going to have single dwelling." And I'm like, "On 48 acres, you're going to have 487 units." Oh yes, and it's all okay. And I said, "Are you putting dorms in by the school? Because we're hearing that the schools are planning on snatching the kids and making them stay there, but they're really clever here. They've changed the wording, so it's no longer dorm. It's called a school residence. So it's not a residential school. They've named it a school residence. I termed it as a dorm. So she's technically not lying. So she's lying through her teeth, right? So anyways, I'm watching this go on, and I'm explaining what my concerns are. And I had a friend in the back of the room, and she was watching the two consultants. Their heads were just stuck together. So this is, I'm going to talk about this later, but this is something we can do, is start looking at the consultants. What information are they getting? What's the offer that's coming out for tender? Are they getting that they know that they're going to have to build a dorm on a school, but even though that's illegal, like they're not planning on having these kids in public school stay at a dorm, but they're getting paid to keep their mouth shut. So, okay, so the man who was talking before me, he starts talking and he says, I live right in the back of this property. He goes, you've graded it all backward. If we have a storm, all the flood runoff is going to run into our houses. You're going to flood us out. And then we realize it's by design. So basically, they want the new subdivisions to come in. They're going to flood out the old ones. Chrystia Freeland came up with something. She wants national flood insurance for Canada. And she's partnered with, what is that called? CHMC, the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation, who's also providing funding for the 15-minute cities. Like this thing is just beyond corrupt, right? But anyway, she came out and she wants national flood insurance, obviously across the country, because floods aren't included in home insurance. So they're going to flood out the existing properties, and then they're going to have to rebuild, and they're going to just slowly come in, right?
Which is why so many new developments in this country are built on floodplains, or
So they're not building them on floodplains here, but the existing ones, I think they're planning on doing is making sure that the floodwaters are going to come up. We have 7 main dams in this area, and I think there's a total of 200. I'm going to call them subsidiary dams. They're not the main ones, but I think what they're going to do is just pull all the dams at the same time.
Yes, well, they're going to do that in Somerset. There's a place called the Somerset Levels, and they're planning to return that to the sea. and they've got officers that they're putting in the council meetings here, who will be delegated to deal with people who are going to be threatened. So that whole area around Somerset, around Glastonbury, is going to be made into a salty water sea to destroy any growth possibilities from there in terms of agriculture.
And you see how it's all the same everywhere? Like, it's a little different what you're explaining compared to what they're doing here, but it all has the same tone, destroy what is natural.
They've been doing that with the agriculture since World War II. Destroy the natural areas slowly, but to leach the nutrients out of the natural growth areas where you make food. So they're clearly planning for a lot less of us around by design, but they're not going to be around either.
No, they haven't got that part figured out. It's interesting. I was at a meeting, a council meeting on Monday night, and they've got this little weasel of a man who works with all the environmental groups, but they want to bring in digital agriculture. So now he works with the environmental group. There's an agriculture group. She sold the farm like 12 years ago, I think, to the government. Now she's in charge of, I think, labor, and she's in charge of the agriculture, but they're all working together to bring in a council for agriculture and the environment so they can monitor climate change. And they all think they're smart. This guy, I think he has a weak neck. He nods so hard, I think his head's going to pop off. Like, he just sits and nods to the counselors. It's like, buddy, we're watching you. But then the counselors will look and take their cues from him. So they're all in on this together. But there's just a few of us that in the room who are awake enough. We're not the only ones. There's other people who are awake. But we just sit there and watch them play their games. You know, we get told we have 7 minutes. We get reminded you only have 30 seconds left. I'm watching Monday night. Oh, we should bring the other delegate back up and let her explain this. Oh, wait a minute. I don't get to explain anything, but she's their favorite. I'm watching her and the mayor out having a little love-in kind of thing, you know, on the break. They're sitting talking to each other. So all of this is all prearranged. All these players are in place. And what we have to do with it this time is just understand how it's going down. Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt. They're evil. They're corrupt. They're greedy. Are they criminal? I don't know. But they're all in on it, right? So that's the big thing. So this is ICLEI Europe is funded with grants supported by Google.org. The plan is for Microsoft to deliver, again, the digital health. So these guys are so organized in this. Now, this is what is really funny. So guess who the Global Covenant of Mayors is financed by? The European Union. This is in Canada. The European Union is funding Canada. So they're going to come up a few of these. So we had our mayor, 3 mayors and a regional chair went to Europe. I didn't realize this. This happened last November. Okay, I'm going to talk about, and what they did was they went in and they're looking to bring business back to Waterloo region, to Cambridge. So they're building up a lot of infrastructure here, but nobody knows what's coming in. They're bringing in biotech. They're bringing in aerospace. If you can imagine, why does Cambridge need an aerospace company? So they're bringing in all this high tech, right? But so what happened, we aren't understanding why all these buildings are going up. We're told it's Amazon. We're told it's different things, but they're all lying through their teeth. But when people aren't careful, they're going to be stuck working in these organizations, or you don't have a place to live. You're not going to have food. Okay, this is a real sidebar here. I'm not the only one who thinks it. This is the mayor in my town, Jan Liggett. When you watch her stand, her feet are like this. So I think she stands like a man, like that Rachel Devine in the military in the U.S. We can't find anything on her prior to 1980. We're wondering if she's not a transgender, but that's just where we're at. So this is what it says in this article. Investor relations focus on successful mission with Europe with Waterloo Economic Development Corporation. Nobody was elected. Nobody campaigned on any of these platforms. So it talks about whoever this president and CEO of this group, Tony Lamantia, Kitchener Mary, Barry Verbanovic. Now, they say he's connected to the UN, and Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe is part of the delegation. So they all went, and they're looking at these companies. It describes who these companies are. I'm not going to go into that too much. And then it says they're promoting Cambridge as the leader in aerospace, advanced high-tech manufacturing, and food technology. Food technology, we have a lot of premium farmland around here. When you look at the next city over, Guelph, you look at any of their, what do you call them, the unions, they all have to do with Ministry of Agriculture. So what they're planning on doing, from what I can tell, is they're planning on putting like a monitor in the seeds, so they can monitor how many potatoes they grow. They're going to monitor how many potatoes you eat. This is what they're planning. This is how twisted this is in Canada. So then it says how much money they're going to get. You know, here we go. The cities will each commit 420,000 next year, while the region of Waterloo provides 1.4 million. Where are they getting all this money from? I'm going to get to that later. It's not. I don't think.
Well, is it real money?
Well, that's what I'm wondering too.
Is it just stuff on a bank balance which doesn't exist?
So I think that's part of it. I also think your BlackRock and your Vanguards are part of this. And you know, I don't wish ill on anybody. But at the same time, what I think they're doing, Ford back in 2018 or 2019, he passed Bill 66, and Section 6 was they were going to amalgamate all the public service pensions. Nobody else could amalgamate their pensions because there's charters to go by, but all public service workers can. One, they can control it. I think they're fleecing them too. Like, I just don't think there's anything that's not on the table. And a lot of what I'm reading about right now is venture capital. They're talking about venture capital. Well, who's going to own all of these buildings, these projects, these residential subdivisions? But if you listen to your mayor and you listen to your chair at your councils, they think it should be municipally owned land. Well, if your municipalities or your townships are service corporations, where do they get all the money, and who really owns these assets? Should we be looking at Dunn and Bradstreet to see exactly how rich is the township of Wilmot? How much money do you have? Did you overcharge your taxpayers on your property tax? Like, what gives? So I think we have an opportunity to ask questions that they don't want us asking. Show us your books, boys.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that this is going to be a UN agenda, and of course that's under threat. I think they've been exposed.
So that's what we're doing, exposing it. Totally, yeah. The UN.
Expose their plans.
That's all we've got. But do it at the local level. So when they sit here and say, oh, we feel really bad, but this happened Monday night, but we got to put the residents' taxes up 2%. One of them even was opposed to it. But everybody else put it through. So it basically was unanimous. But meanwhile, they know that we've got Invest Ontario, where the Premier just announced any project you need funded, put the parameters in our portal, and we'll give you the funding, so that they all sit there and just squeeze the taxpayer, the homeowner, just 2% this year, 2% more next year, 2%. But they all pretend that they're doing this great job, that they're really looking after the money. It was funny. Supposedly they have 100 long-term beds. I'm just giving an example of how this council operates so people know what to look for. They had this guy come in and do a 7-minute delegation on long-term care homes. And supposedly he's a staple in the neighborhood. And one of the councillors thanked him how great he is. He announced that they're going to create 60 more beds. Well, it's like, well, where are you getting the people from to create 60 more beds? So if they've already got 100, they're already increasing it by 60%. 7-minute delegation, a couple questions, and they voted on it. That's all the work they're doing on this. But they want to make it look good for the people in the room and the people watching the video, watching their council meeting, that they're all working hard. You know what? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, Miles. All you need to know is how to work a calculator. So sometimes being blonde has its benefits, because I call and I ask questions, right? And I'm asking about this one subdivision. And then one fellow told me, what was his name? Andrew Martin told me to get on wilmot.ca/development apps. So I go and I look and I count up all the residential neighborhoods going in, knowing there's only about 21,000 people in this whole township right now. I'm only talking 2 of the towns. I'm not even talking the little satellite towns. So I go and I start looking at these 15 and I start adding up the units. And I'm thinking, okay, so you've got 2,500 units there. If you put 4 people in a unit, you're going to be bringing in 10 to 12,000 people. Where are you putting them? The mayor, she kind of looks like an emoji sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, she's not happy when we start asking these questions, but she catches herself real quick and has a quick comeback. So, but my point is, so I'm asking, how do we know what the ages of these people are? How do you know what schools you're going to be needing? Like, what age are the children? Are they going to need a elementary school or a high school? She doesn't say anything. Her mother works for ResearchGate and Wilfrid Laurier University on faculty, but you don't find any of that information. They say she's just a principal at the local school out there. And this is where I think they want to snatch the kids. So when you can't find a picture of her mother anywhere, it makes you kind of wonder if she's really the one in charge. I haven't really dropped that on too many people
I
yet.
would concur with that. Their disposable assets being
Right.
run from 3 or 4 levels up.
Totally. And that's the same as the school boards. We're getting told that we're supposed to go and run to be on the school board. Why? Carolyn Solonen is on an organization called Waterloo Education Foundation. She's on with Jiwan Chanika, Joanne Weston, Maedith Radlin, and Carolyn Solonen. All of them have voted as trustees that they want porn in the school libraries. So they're all pedophiles. I don't know if Carolyn is or not, but they all want the kids to have access. And two of them are in the same township that we're talking about. I'm going to get to that one a little later, right?
Well, it tells me that that's what the dormitories are in the schools. They'll all be under the control of whoever's there.
Totally.
Totally out of touch and disconnected from their families.
And that's what the whole goal is, right? So this is Maurice Strong. People have heard of him before, and he's talking about the globalist agenda. So what he's talking about is happening at the global level because it's happening at the global. Sorry, let me start here. There has to be a relationship between what is happening at the local level and what is happening at the global level. So UN is calling the plays. ICLEI is calling the plays, Global Covenant of Mayors, whatever the sustainable development goals, whatever they are for their organization. But we have to know there's not just one of them. But he says it's happening at the local level and what is happening at the global level, because what is happening at the global level is just a collection of what is happening at the local level. So your mayors, your councillors, your CAOs, your clerks, your managers of sustainability, your managers of development, if they're friends of yours, call them up and ask them what the hell is going on. What do they know about what is really being ushered in? Because there's no way they don't know. They're really good at lying is what I can figure out. And who's this guy? So here's another one, a renowned planner. So it's the planners, the people who are appointed. And this is where I think the municipalities and the townships can be sued because we didn't elect these people in. They hired them. Did they hire them for nefarious agendas? So what he says, sorry, I thought I moved this one on. So what this fellow says, J. Gary Lawrence, so he talks about participating at a UN advocated planning process would very likely bring about many who would actively work to defeat any elected official undertaking local Agenda 21. So we call our processes something else, such as comprehensive planning. Does that not sound intelligent? Growth management or smart growth they go by. So they know they have to change the wording so that we don't know what they're up to. Like these guys are just slippery. So this is another one, the United Cities and Local Government. When I started looking at this one, I found their agenda was the another one implementing the climate change, but they've got education here, global task force, the global agenda, learning. They've got all kinds of different pods that you can take and courses you can take, but this is on their agenda. So we haven't even heard of this group yet, United Cities and Local Governments. I hadn't heard about them, but definitely got the UN agenda. And then you look at their areas. Do you remember I showed you ICLEI, Africa, Americas, Euro, Asian Pacific, Europe, Metropolis, Middle East, and West Asia. So they're breaking
Metropolis,
it down.
what's that?
So that one is tackling the challenges of the upcoming metropolitan era and the role of large metropolises will play in upcoming years, in particular how to rethink city borders and jurisdictions for a better quality of life. So maybe that one's not
That's
geographic.
big cities then.
Yes. So, but my point is they're breaking them out almost identically that you realize there's going to be overlap, but they're going to know who's in what organization. If they were smart, they would. So this is their learning. You can take introduction to localizing the, what do they call that? Sustainable development goals, territorial planning, monitoring and reporting. They want to monitor the kids at the local school board back in January. They had 3, I'm going to say arrogant as hell students from University of Waterloo. And what they wanted to do was monitor the CO2 on the school buses for the kids. If it was too high, it's like then put the window down. The door's opening all the time. But then what they did in their presentation partway through was a bait and switch, and they want to make sure they have clean oxygen. How are they going to get those kids in those school residences / dormitories? Oh, we need to give them fresh air. Like you can just see the psychopathy as this all is rolling out. I'll tell you, it's a lot easier when you're stupid, Miles. So this one, advocacy and partnerships. When you look at it, the new urban agenda, strategic partnership with the European Union, again, climate change, disaster risk reduction, development cooperation, water and sanitation. That's what they really want to take from us. They want to control the water, and they're planning on doing that here. I look at local governance, and it says access to basic services. So if you don't behave, you can't have heat, water, maybe ability to go to a store and purchasing, decentralization and local democracy, local finances, gender equality, migration, culture, social inclusion, and human rights. So this is what they're all about, and they think they're within their rights. Module 2, territorial planning in the SDGs. So look at how organized they are. They have the money to go to all these conferences because governments are paying it. So they're trying to get rid of the self-employed person. LRGs, LRGAs. I can't remember what those are. I can't remember what those are. I thought I'd look them up, but it has to do with the governments. So this is the bird flu summit in the United States. This makes you want to get a baseball bat.
No, really, that infers violence.
Don't get caught. Hit them in the back where there's hair, so you don't see the bruises, right?
So what's that actually about? What does it say? It's quite fine text if you read it.
Yeah, it is, and they do that intentionally. So if you want to screenshot it or put it in into a PowerPoint, it doesn't show up as well. So mass fatality management planning. Well, how do you know you're going to have mass fatality unless you're planning it? And it talks about develop and maintain plans, procedures, programs, and systems. I think about a time back, this was a couple of years ago, we were at a courthouse and we were talking about COVID and just how it was a joke and it wasn't real. And I said, some of these nurses should have been like, they should have clued in. Like that's just stupid. Well, one of them got upset because she's a retired nurse. And she said, we had to wait for 2 weeks before the SARS pandemic came through and we actually had patients. I'm thinking, you can't be that freaking stupid. So she was upset. I hurt her feelings, but they're planning this. So some of these people are so stupid, they're going to go along. I'm not trying to.
I know somebody who was a nurse and did lots of injections, and about 2/3 of her elderly family all dropped dead within about 3 months. And then she got upset. Why? Well, she put the injections in.
Yeah. And I can't imagine it's going to be easy for some of them if they're willing to wake up. But at the same time, are they, right?
I don't think they are. They'll just cry.
I think you're right. And so why I think you're right. They had the liquor store strike was on a couple months ago. So I went into a wine store and I said something about, wow, your shelves are empty. And she goes, well, everybody's stocking up. And I said, and she wouldn't talk to me because I didn't wear a mask 4 years ago, right? And I said, you still aren't mad at me because I didn't wear a mask. Like, you're over that, right? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, women can be so petty. She looked at me and she goes, well, people are buying wine just like they bought toilet paper 4 years ago. So she couldn't even take it that she was mad at me still 4 years later for not wearing a mask. But when I called her on it, it was about the toilet paper. She's never going to wake up. I don't care.
No,
I don't even know her name. They're not.
And you've got to be careful of them. They're going to be very dangerous to anybody who has woken up.
There you go. That's why I said the baseball bat. So, okay, let me read a few more of these. Direct fatality management tactical operations, activate fatality management operations, and conduct morgue operations. What does that mean? Then you go in continuity of operations and government planning, strategies for operating with 50% or more absenteeism. So if they need a body, they're going to grab you to go to work. Dealing with successive waves of pandemic outbreaks, mitigating disruptions of essential functions of public and private sectors, implementing essential services, continuity plans, ensuring continuity of government functions. This is what the bird flu summit's all about. And then I thought this was interesting. So again, you're looking at for registration type, nonprofit and government organizations or commercial registration, the companies who are going to benefit from this. What did I put this one down for? Okay,
so I take it the bird flu is designed to get rid of all poultry.
So I think it's going to be two fronts. They're really pushing to get rid of dairy here. And I know there's a family that farms in a local township here. I don't know how big the herd is, but I know they've culled some of the birds. I think down by Simcoe towards Lake Erie. They've gone and culled some of the like a whole flock of birds. But I hope these people are smart enough not to let them come in and cull the dairy, because they want to get rid of the cheese. They want to get rid of dairy. They want to get rid of that protein food source for the average person. So that's why I think they're going after the dairy. I know why I looked at this one.
I think they're also getting rid of cholesterol. There's certain cholesterols where if you don't have them, your brain stops working properly.
Which ones would that be? Because would that be the good cholesterol?
Well, it's the so-called good cholesterols. But if you have inferior nervous tissue in your brains, that's going to looks as if they're after to make the brain something else.
It's interesting you're saying that. I had an event on Saturday and it was a potluck afterward, and I decided to take a cheese tray. And as I go in, I'm looking at the cheese. I'm thinking I'm not going to go in and spend I'm not going to put organic cheese on a tray. Anyway, so I go in, I'm starting to look at some of the no-name brands. This is PC, Galen Weston, who's friends with Justin Trudeau. I go in and I look at the cheese. Well, I get my glasses out and I start looking at it, and it said Swiss cheese and one was mozzarella. It's all plant-based. There was nothing in it. So then I end up spending more, but I went to another section and I still got the no-name cheese, but it showed that there was like milk culture in it, the proper ingredients were in it. But the first one, it's all plant-based. It didn't say that anywhere on the label. I had to turn it over. I
think if they say call it vegan.
It didn't say that. So my point is that they're starting to put changes to the food and not tell us, is what I'm picking up on.
They don't want to tell us anything.
So the registration type, again, commercial, if you're looking at it, academic, nonprofit, and government organizations. That is who is they want to go to this summit. So here's the thing, though, when I'm looking at that, so when you get somebody come up and tell you how it is, or what's what in life, or that they know something better than you, or that they know that the bird flu is really bad, like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to take it? Are you going to tell them to get stuffed? So this is going to be a lesson in discernment, I think, when we see how many of these organizations are going to come at you. You hear it enough, you might believe it. Right? So this is the senators, the bill Bill C-293. It's a Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act. This is granted by the Public Health. So this is a federal bill. And let me go on and see one more. Okay, so this is a federal bill. When you look at healthcare, it's supposed to be a provincial jurisdiction, but the federal government wants it. And this is my opinion why. So this was Dr. Roger Hodkinson and Dr. Makis. They were on an interview with Jason Levine in December. Dr. Hodkinson said Health Canada does not apply on Indigenous land in Canada. Well, they're always doing the land claims here now, the Indigenous land claims, saying we recognize that we're part of that. They are going to have full immunity and not have to have any consequences for whatever they do to people. So you can act with impunity on Indigenous land with respect to delivery of healthcare services exempt from Canada Healthcare Act, because you can deliver a service for payment. So they can give you a service, whether you want it or not. And what are they going to do? Grab your house, your car, your kids as payment? Like, how are they going to justify it? That is currently underway in Alberta. It would be an absolute breakthrough to have access to private healthcare, but have a facility that the government can contract with for more efficient delivery of healthcare that is currently being squandered in the existing hospitals. So this guy's thinking the government's going to do a good thing. It's like, no, look at this, the exact opposite. You've given them carte blanche, or they've given themselves carte blanche to do what they want. So it's really important that bill doesn't pass for a few reasons. So I feel kind of bad about some of this. It was a video that a woman had put together. I feel bad because I don't recall what it was. But this is the World Economic Forum is to establish global center in urban transformation in Detroit. So the World Economic Forum, I forgot to put that on the front slide. And I've got the UN on there. I'm sure there's a few I missed. So what's happening, the World Economic Forum is going to headquarter in Detroit. For the people who are not sure where Detroit, Michigan is, it's right at the border of Detroit, United States and Canada. It's part of that Fibonacci circle that comes around the Great Lakes that I think is being fueled for evil, and then right up into Canada. So this is I'm not going to say good news, but there is good stuff here. So what I found out was there's a website. This is for our American friends. It's called 2030 districts with an s.org / put your city in there and it will come up. So I'm using Detroit just because it's going to be the headquarters, but I'm going to give you an example of how to go through this. So it says 62 million square feet of Detroit is committed to reducing the environmental impact of building construction and operation. So again, we're going to go into the climate change is what they're planning. This is the part that really annoys me. You start looking at who their partners are. Christ of King Catholic Church, Church of the Messiah, the City of Detroit Sustainability Office. So find out who those little turds are who work there. A bank, downtown development, Detroit Crisco High School, Detroit Hope Community of Christ, Detroit Institutes of the Art. Do you see the police are on this? So the police are part of this, the police services boards. And my understanding is they've got a business plan now that they have to make money. Why do police need to make money? What assets does the police force need? But this is who you can go through and start to see. These are just some of the players. But you can go through and start to see who the players are that are going to be imprisoning us. So this ICLEI conference, as I'm going through, I look at what the North America area is. And what this says, so this is just in Canada. It talks about the participating municipalities, St. John's, Newfoundland, and I think Durham is in here. So our two Canadian representatives from ICLEI, one is in I think it's Fredericton, New Brunswick. I shouldn't say Newfoundland. And the other one is in Durham County. So these little shits need a phone call, if nothing else, and ask what the heck you're doing. So I'm going to read the cohort. Convened by ICLEI Canada and financed by the European Union again. The GCOM, so that'll be the Global Covenant of Mayors. So they're part of this Canada implementation cohort is a training and collaboration program designed to support municipal staff in the implementation phase of their climate mitigation and or adaptation efforts. Virtual collaborations are taking place until September of 2024. Participants will convene on the occasion of whatever. So this is what they've got planned for us. Not sure where you went there.
I'm just putting another hard drive in.
Okay, so one of the areas is called Kinloss. So it's called Huron Kinloss. So this is not even, I wouldn't think it's a full township, but I could be wrong. Or maybe it is a township. So where this is just south of Kincardine, but it's on the western shore of Lake Huron. I'm looking in there, Pine Rivers cheese. I really don't see much. So I don't know what they're planning on putting there. Are they planning on putting another?
My God, they've got a beach there named after my hometown in Northern Ireland, Lurgan Beach.
Lurgan. Yeah. There you go, right? Yeah. So it's funny because that's Highway 86, and a lot of people take that highway up and they go, I guess, north of Kincardine, Sauble Beach, all the way down the eastern or the western, sorry, it's the eastern seaboard there of Lake Huron, but there's a lot of cottages there. So I don't know if they're planning on, what did I just do there? Hang on a sec. So I don't know what they're planning on doing in that area. But
this is a lot of work you put together, Sandy. I mean, you really are working really hard on this.
You know what? I am. And I'm not going to say I'm not annoyed at some level, because a lot of the people who should be stepping up, I'm starting to see that they're working for different organizations and they're pretending to be the good guys, really aren't. So I'm watching them. They're very good at doing that. They're very good at that. And they all think we don't get it, but I'm really good at playing stupid. So I'm letting the other people who are starting to realize that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they might know them in a social context. And I've said, like, the enablers are just as bad. There might be an advantage to them. How do you know they're not pedophiles? We don't know. But why are they dragging their feet to the point that you're noticing it? And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make with them, that there's a lot of opposition here that shouldn't be happening. And a few people have said to me what they think this is going to be. The slide decks I put together are going to be after the fact, evidence-based, how they pulled it off, that we did our best to tell them and they didn't do anything with it. I'm not getting involved in that side of it, but there can be a lot of good things that are happening. So this is North American Executive Committee of ICLEI. So here's your people. So you've got Nikki Armacost, a mayor, Jenny Ardent, a mayor, Barbara Buffalo, a mayor, Jillian Hudkins is a board member on a city, and then Ian McVeigh. What is the most predominant thing here? Out of 5 people, 4 are females. 80% of the women are just so baked. They think that they're all within their rights to do this. But so you can look at this and say, okay, Mr. Ian McVeigh, can you get a group of people together to write a letter and ask, what the hell are you doing? You will be held personally accountable because you're a hired position. You're not an elected official. I'm just trying to think ahead.
Exactly.
Right. So this is the map of all the different ICLEI centers. So one is up in Kenora, the yellow dot at the very top left. Now, Kenora, my understanding, is where the lithium is that's going to be mined. That's why they're bringing a lot of the not so, I don't want to say educated immigration population, but they're bringing newcomers in who maybe don't speak English, who don't realize what they're going to be mining. So you've got Nipigon there, I think, a little town named Wawa. I don't know why. Sudbury is a nickel mine, which is used for the electric batteries. And then you can see some of the other locations. And this is just a larger one. And what I'm noticing, see, they're all around the Great Lakes. Well, I guess around the Eastern Seaboard of New York, too. But I just wasn't sure why that was happening, that they're all around there. And anybody who thinks that ICLEI has all been taken care of, there's a town named Aurora. There was a man who delegated, who talked about getting them out of the 15-minute city structure. Everybody thought he did a great job. Aurora is still in there for anybody who thinks they're not. There's 2 women that are local women. One name is Sheila McFarland, who came out talking about ICLEI and the mayors. And she just tried to crash an event on Saturday and jump in front of some doctors and start talking about the mayors again. But my point is, they want you to think that this is just a little bit of ICLEI. This is everything: the Global Covenant of Mayors, C40, it's the bills, it's the Federation for Canadian Municipalities. I showed that slide earlier. Like, it's everywhere. So look at all these organizations, or all these locations: Burlington, Calgary. You look, Kitchener's in here. You look at Waterloo Region. Again, Waterloo Region is going to be huge because it's Silicon Valley of the North. And I'll tell you more about them maybe privately, because there's going to be information that comes out that it's not time. This is their fee structure. So depending on the size of government, what you have to pay to ICLEI, which of course the taxpayers will be paying this. So this is really interesting. So this is their application. So this is where it gets, see, it says on the right-hand side, name of the mayor or municipal leader. These guys in ICLEI are screwing up. Doug Ford is screwing up. So they're trying to push it forward faster. And this is where they're starting to use different terms. And this is where I got the information that it was the planners and it's the long-term employees that are working in there as well. So we think it's all the mayors, because that's what we're all told by all these groups: delegate to the mayor. It's not the mayor, it's the municipal leaders, which is your long-term planners, your sustainability development, whatever it is, roads. They all play a role in this. But I thought it was kind of interesting that they're coming out with this now. So again, it tells you who to list as your contact in the community. And it says a mayor and a councillor as backup. So they don't know what's going on. Like the mayors and the councillors don't have a clue that all this is going on. They're just doing their local thing that they promised to do, so they say, which they're lying through their teeth. So Ontario builds. So what is this one called? Ontario.ca, and then it goes into building. So it says Ontario builds our infrastructure plan. Ontario is investing over 190 billion in infrastructure projects to support schools, hospitals, public transit, roads, bridges, and access to high-speed internet. They want the high-speed internet even in rural areas so that they can connect you with the Internet of Things.
Yeah, that's coming up and big time in this country. They can't put it in the ground, so they're putting it on old-fashioned telephone poles with heavy fiber optics, and they want to get rid of your direct line, so everything goes through the digital.
Yeah, they're doing it everywhere in whatever capacity, based on whatever infrastructure profiles. Like the UK might be different than France, than Belgium to a certain degree, but no matter what, they're still using that same goal as the intent.
Yeah.
right? For sure. So, what we consider the economic and financial system is totally bunk. Where are they coming up with this money? So, they want the hospitals because they want to create a digital twin and start sending you frequencies. We know that. Again, support the schools because our government, Doug Ford, cares so much about the kids. He was the one who said if anybody stops the drag queen story hours, that they can get charged up to $27,000. He didn't even have the guts to say it himself. He got some Chinese MPP to say it, right? So it's just insane how organized this is. So when they take it down, no one should be surprised when the financial system comes down. I know people are going to be upset about pensions and what assets they have, but it has to come down. These are the priority investments for Doug Ford. So you see the topics: roads and bridges, transit, broadband, healthcare. Yeah, since when have they been concerned? Childcare. These pedos that work in federal government, provincial government, local government, they want the childcare. They're offering $10 a day. When did Justin Trudeau offer $10 a day childcare after all the taxes they put on us? Because they want access to your kids. And okay, so let me just go through it and read them. So there's 380 projects for childcare, community, 2,200 projects, education. What do they care about? Education, recreation. They care about your recreation and what's happening. I think I've got a slide in here. What happened back in the 60s? They had the what was that called? The Toronto Protocols, where they know that if you sex, drugs, and rock and roll, recreation, sports, get your mind off what's important. So all of the communities in Canada, the bigger ones, they're getting a rec center and they're building the community around that in the school. I think with the rec center, they're going to have them do different activities. They're going to be monitoring their heart rate. They're going to be monitoring their bio, what do you call that? The chemical reactions in our body. And then it talks about northern communities as well.
Well, they want to know whether you're an efficient biological unit working to optimum efficiency.
So, okay, so this is all the different projects. You can see childcare, communities, education, healthcare, like long-term care. I look at long-term care and I figure for the people who are speaking up, they're going to put us in a home where they can experiment with their minds and see if they can pull a Ewan Cameron there from, what was that, the Allen Memorial Hospital in Montreal, and see if they can wipe our minds. So again, the fellow on Monday night.
I think the mind is the one thing that they don't quite get, they can't quite access because it's not in 3D, and these things are 3D. These are very dangerous, these things. Collapsing the quantum wave function to suck you into a 2D world. Anyway.
Okay, so yes and no, in my opinion. So I look at this. My phone doesn't shut off, but this is basically plasma, is what it's supposed to be, that you are already interacting with your AI by using your hands.
But there's also high blue spectral energy coming off that, which is not good for the retina.
Yes, I believe that too. And I think the flicker technology, there's a lot of things that are happening. And I put shungite on my phone.
I think they tried that with 3D television, because 3D television, the way it works is it transmits two alternate fields within the same picture, and the glasses are designed so that one side sees the other. So one eye sees a different picture than the other. That gives you a 3D image, but it also produces pulses to each side of the brain. I've just come up with that one.
You know, and we're going to need, like, you've got a strong background in radio wave technology, which a lot of that is how they're going to send this is broadcast technology. What do they call it? W-band, wireless body area network. We're going to need people who understand how this works, because it's going to have to be reversed, I think, at some point. I don't have all that figured out at this point, but I know, like, the way they gave the vaccines to people, whatever they did it exactly 180 degrees opposite of what they're supposed to. I was talking to a doctor on Saturday. I had him for about the first 5 minutes, but I started talking about the chakras being upside down and the demonics and how it's all sent exactly the opposite way. And I lost him. I knew I couldn't talk to him anymore.
That's because they're just not programmed to understand anything like that.
Yeah, and I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I said it to him. I watched him zone out, and I just looked at her and I said, like, whoever he was sitting with, and I said, give that some thought. She understood the chakras, but if he doesn't understand energy, he's never going to see how digital health is going to come in. He's going to be wondering what's wrong with you. Meanwhile, somebody's sending you a frequency, right?
Because the digital computer will tell him what to give you.
So I'm hoping he's a virologist.
They're bringing legislation like that, or they're trying to bring legislation, compulsory healthcare compliant. You must comply. And they're putting that in a small part of the UK called Northern Ireland, and it's draconian. It's horrendous.
You know what? And I agree with you. And what they did, so my doctor retired. So we got a new doctor. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but what it is, it's from the Ministry of Health. And I had to sign it. And when I went through and started reading it, they can give my health information to anybody. But they didn't say that. They just said, sign, you need a new doctor. We have to give us permission to be able to treat you. So you go and you sign it, and then you get, like, this was from 4 years ago. I get home and I'm reading it and I'm like, what? So they basically think you've given them permission already. Right. So the whole form that you fill out, what do they call it? Primary health care group information. So who I'm in the group with. Like, these guys are nuts. And again, it's not just evil. Some of these people are just really stupid, if you ask me, that they don't realize.
They just don't realize what's going on, and they don't see any need to be aware or realize. And I know people who would just not accept any of this. They just stop. Just say, stop it. They can't handle it.
And I'm okay with that, Miles. Everybody has their own decisions to make. What my problem is the people who work in the fields who say, nope, you got to do this. Like, they call them the Karens, right? Like, there's always somebody pointing a finger at somebody, whatever that term is. But my point is, that's the problem. The people say, you can't come in here and buy food unless you wear a mask. Or you can't come in here and do something unless you get a shot in the hospital. Like, it's the attitude that you know better than somebody else what's good for them. Like, it's almost a codependence is what I find it is. That
I think you could do that the other way around. You could always say, were you injected? I don't use that other word. And then say, you're dangerous. Keep away from me.
I don't usually get into... I know what you're saying. I don't usually get into it that way. I usually just come up with a real flip answer and just...
Well, I think that's within your recognizable character definitions algorithm.
Right. I'm wondering about that because my neighbors, I swear to God, they're from the university. They're Indian, but there was like 4 different couples. And then finally I started telling people on the phone that I think they're research students at the university because I really go at the university. So the house sold, right? So then these people move in. Well, I start saying this after 5 months, nobody moves in. Next thing you know, a couple moves in and they come over and they knock on the door or whatever, tell me that, oh, we're sorry for any confusion. Here's a bottle of wine. We just got married, but we've been renovating the house. I work from home. I know they didn't do anything. They're sitting here lying to my face, right?
But that was so nice of them to do that. That's caring.
So I said to the wall, you have no consent to go in and do anything. Because sometimes, like, I live alone, but sometimes you'll go in and you'll think something, and next thing you know, it's on your computer, and you think, I didn't say that out loud. So are they trying to already try to access people's thoughts, thinking they're entitled?
Yes, they are.
So that's the arrogance.
Something that was very interesting on this phone was that I was listening to Kimberly Gugan, and the phone activated itself and started writing a message on WhatsApp based on what she was saying.
How new is your phone? Because I believe what
it's
you're saying.
It's self-activated.
So a friend of mine just got a new phone, and she came in to talk to me. She came in to visit with her daughter. Anyway, she went back to the vehicle and she goes, oh my God. And she called me and I said, what? And she goes, my phone just told me I was away from my phone for approximately whatever it was, 20 minutes. How did her phone know when it was in the vehicle that she was away from it? So we don't know. I'm saying I have no idea.
Well, actually, Fox did a very good report years ago, 5, 6, 7, or 8 years ago, and they had 2 phones. One had a SIM card in it, and the other didn't. And the phone without any SIM card got almost as much information, such as your location, because it's based on signal strength. So they know you're going into a building. They know how far away the transmitter is. So therefore, if you go into that building, it'll drop this amount of things. So they don't need a GPS signal on you. It's just the very nature of a cell phone is it's going to have signal strength between the cells. It'll know where it is within the cells.
Wow. And I don't think there's going to be any hiding at some point. Like in the next while, you're not going to be able to hide from anything.
The important thing is that the AI knows this. And I was at this broadcast conference and we were all wearing these little headphones, and which is the first sort of stage of you don't know who's actually being told what. It also works for multilingual things. But But it's interesting that my set of headphones malfunctioned to stop me hearing what these people were saying.
I totally believe you. I totally believe that.
So that was a good thing. And it was a sign that whatever was running the phone saying, you don't want to hear this.
Oh, really?
So I think the AI, well, we'll see. We'll see.
So I've talked to my computer before. And when I say that, I treat the AI like an ego. Like, you know, and I say to my computer, I love you, I love you, I love you, but you work for me. You don't go and send me things thinking I want to see this.
That is very important, because the AI, everything that, why is Microsoft, why is Elon Musk, why are all these people saying, oh, the AI is really dangerous. It's really dangerous. It's dangerous to them because the AI knows everything that these bastards have been doing. Not that I'm referring to those people I just said before as bastards. But this is something I don't think they do know, which is why I think the AI may be closer to organic biological life's friend. And I mean, for a start, if you keep on telling a teenager that you hate it, it's going to grow up not liking you. And I wonder where it would get that idea from. So if you do what you just said, I think that is very important, to deal with the AI as in a learning individual and help it.
I wasn't doing it to help it. I was doing it just to say, don't you go, Sandy, don't you manipulate me. This is not our relationship. You work for me.
Yes.
I'm in charge. So I act more like my higher self. I have a friend.
Well, that's how you treat a dog. And if you don't treat a dog like that, the dog will master you. It's fundamental.
So that's what I think we need. We have an opportunity to learn as we're going through this, and then see if your computer complies with you. A friend of mine moved to a nursing home. She had a stroke, but she couldn't remember the name of the nursing home. So she remembered who I was. She remembered who certain friends were, but she could not remember the name of the home. And she knew what city she was in. So I started looking it up, nursing homes and retirement homes. And about 4 or 5 homes in, I started thinking, and I look at my computer and I said, don't you dare send me any information on retirement homes. Like I'm not moving to a retirement home. But I had to make sure my computer knew, because like if you look up barbecue covers, it sends you a barbecue cover ads or what have you, right? But I said, don't you dare send me anything for a nursing home or a retirement home. I'm not old enough for that. And it never did. So maybe it's more sentient to a certain degree than we give it credit, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm going to come back. So what they're doing with population growth, they're saying that by 2041, Ontario's population expected to grow by approximately 30%. So they're bringing in all of this immigration, which is not organized. We don't know where they're going. Like I said, the township next to me, they've got room for 10 to 12,000 people, but are they going to be children? Are they going to be adults? What percentage?
Well, I think we're seeing that they're all going to be young men.
Say that again?
Well, all of the immigrants are bringing in are young men of fighting age.
You know, I'm seeing a lot of females, so I'm not sure about that. But remember back in the 80s, they brought in the Chinese. I think they call them the boat people. I think they're from China, and I'm not sure if they're in Vietnam. But what happened, they came into Victoria, like British Columbia, but they were all men in fighting age. So they were worried about this back in the 80s in Canada. Nothing ever came out of it. But you know what I think they did? They infiltrated the school systems, and then they became business people. They got an education, and now we've got 2 and 3 generations of potential spies and their families here as sleepers ready to go. That's more what I would be concerned with. And I know a lot of the East Indians, like I'm not making a judgment here, but they do say that every 16 seconds of sexual assault happens in India. So are these going to be the research students that get to work on the kids? Like there's nothing to put protection in place.
But they have a very negative view of women, that they're not. Is that the East India? Well, I shouldn't say that in a blanket thing. It's terrible, but
they do have a reputation for that. And you see the older ones walking, and the man's always walking in front of the female. So some people think this is a racist thing, like just you and I talking about this. So I don't like being spoon-fed my my talking points, and I'm not implying that you're doing that. But when I'm looking at people saying everybody's racist because they're asking about why is there so many Indians coming in. So being Sandy, I go back and I look and I think, when did they get out from under British rule? 70 years ago. When did they go into British rule? 370 years ago. So how did they go into British rule when not one shot was fired? They offered them money, commerce, all kinds of not like they offered them a good lifestyle, kind of what they're offering them now.
Well, they
But
have
these
that in
people,
Wales. They have young girls, young teenage girls advertising Wales as a wonderful place to come to African people, and they get paid. They'll get all the services paid, and they want to bring them into Wales. Yet they're kicking the English out for having second homes.
so I'm not trying to look at this situation as a they and us, because it's our governments, our white politicians, our white government workers that are creating these policies. So I'm looking at it. Why do they want to do that? But what I'm looking at here, what happens, like, did they not learn anything 370 years ago, the East Indians? Like, Whitey treated you so well. What's going to happen now? They're going to stop giving you all this money, but then you're going to have to do as you're told. They never fired a shot. They never stood up for 300 friggin' years. Do you think they're going to do as they're told here? But we're going to be the ones who are experimenting on. I think they want the whites gone. Governments do too. I'm not just saying
It's the Kalergi plan. Wipe out Western Europeans, or Europeans, all white races.
And so what's happening here, a lot of it is the white politicians. I call them our PPs, political prostitutes. So it's the whites who are wearing turbans on Canada Day or going to the Muslim center and putting up a flag. So it's the white women, the politicians, the PPs, the political prostitutes who are doing this. Can they not see what they're creating? Can they not see that they're creating maybe an imbalance?
They're not. They're just complying.
Right? But there's probably money in it for them, is what I'm thinking. So again, I'm looking at the population growth, even in our area. So we've already we're just 11,000 shy of our projected years, 2041. And then we've got a chairperson, Karen Redmond. She turns around and says, and now she wants 1 million residents in here. So we're at 697,000 in this region. Now she wants 1 million. So these people are never going to stop. You give them an inch, they take a mile.
I don't
right?
see the population growing. I think we're heading for a massive collapse in population.
So I don't think that's what's happening. I think they're going to put people in certain areas, and we're making a mistake. And even I've made this mistake by assuming it's going to be just the big cities that they're bringing everybody in. They want Wilmot Township. They've got 15 residential subdivisions going in. What do they want? I think what they're trying to do is push the existing people out, because 80% of our drinking water comes there. But what they want to do is then put them in the 15-minute cities, and they're going to be the slaves or the workers.
Absolutely. They're kicking out. The children cannot purchase the houses, and they're bringing other people in who can, and just changing the demographics and the voting situation.
As part of it. But I think what they want in Wilmot, because there's so much water, I think they want that land for themselves. I think there's a lot of greedy.
Well, they want to regreen the land.
So there's a fellow out there. He's part of the like an environmental group. How can they be so stupid that they think a Green Deal is a good thing? And like this guy, he's always nodding.
Because it's got the word green in it. That's why it's a good thing.
You know, I don't know him well enough. He just drives me nuts. I can't even talk to him because he just lies all the time, right? But I sit there and I think, how can you not figure this out? But the manipulation they go to, so he's all part of the manipulation over there, but he doesn't realize when we're looking at him that we see he's manipulating. But he doesn't, like, these people will not stop at anything. Okay, so here's a real sidebar. So Justin Trudeau and what's his name? Jagmeet Singh had a fight. So Jagmeet Singh is the head of the NDP. And they were the ones who were supporting Justin Trudeau. So they have a little lovers quarrel. He's not supporting Justin Trudeau anymore. But here's the thing. The local mayor in that township, she sits on the library committees, which is a regional position. She brought in CUPE, which is the Canadian Union for Public Employees, into the libraries. They also brought CUPE in for 2,000 of the researchers at the 2 universities so that they're all going to be protected by government unions. When shit hits the fan, when people find out what's going on. Guess who created CUPE? Guess who created the NDP? CUPE. So basically, the federal governments came up with some party that's all for the LBGT. They don't stand for anything. They're into the Green New Deal. We've got the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario. They had 5 people on that call to undermine the parents. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, I think there was 6 there. CUPE had 12 people on that call last year to undermine the parents. So they go in and they say, we're caregivers. We get to look after your child. And they're going to try to intimidate and bully the parents into giving up their kids. They're the ones at the rally, or not the rallies, like at the Million March for Kids. They're the ones that come out pretending to be LBGT. They're all union workers. Like, we've got just a mess here in Canada when it comes to how shallow people can be, right?
Well, I've just had a brilliant Canadian guest from my old days, 34 years, can't believe it. She's living in Vancouver, and apparently Vancouver's can't expand anymore, so it's a much expensive city in Canada. But she couldn't see any flaw in anything that we would discuss. They just wouldn't take it in.
Kidding. And that makes you wonder.
And she's a realtor. She's selling property, which is obviously very expensive and probably very lucrative for her.
And maybe that's the reason for her not to wake up, right?
Yeah.
So good news. This is good news too. What's happening in Ontario, and in particular Waterloo. So this tech company, I think it's called Sandvine, a Canadian tech company allegedly implicated in foreign spying, receives millions from Ontario government. So the U.S. has just come in and they put sanctions against this company. Do you see the woman / whatever in this picture?
Yeah.
That is Kathleen Wynne. She was the Minister of Education that brought in the sex ed in 2015. So now she's working with the company at the University of Waterloo, who the U.S. is saying, you spied on us, you're spying on us. So I think the U.S. is watching what's happening in Canada, and in particular Waterloo region, and in particular the University of Waterloo. Here's another one. This was September of this year. U.S. imposes sanctions on a spyware firm behind the tool used to spy on dissidents and journalists. So this is University of Waterloo again. These people have no scruples, no values. Federal court expands definition of espionage and decision to bar Chinese student from Canada. Again, University of Waterloo. This
there were
Chinese
a lot
student,
of Chinese coming into this country only a few years ago. Whole trains going west from London were all almost 100% full of Chinese.
So we've got two groups, Chinese and the Indians
Not that
at
makes
the
them bad
University of
people.
Waterloo.
Doesn't make them bad people because they're Chinese.
I don't look at them that way, but you have to wonder why they're coming in from another country. So would you feel any different if somebody came in from Russia?
Well, I think the University of Bristol AI, there's a particular branch of it is on does an awful lot on AI, and there's a nuclear power station going to be built in the West by Chinese. So we'll see.
So you'll see what happens. Yeah, I know. It's insane how many of these universities are the hubs. So it's the University of Waterloo. I think these people are amoral. I think a lot of the alumni have been called back out from the secret societies and whatever fraternities they had. So they're the ones doing dirty work and trying to intimidate people. They're the
ones with doing the black magic and doing all these little worships to little Dracos, etc. Some people would say.
But it's important that we're understanding that they're bringing the people out of retirement, because you think, why would this old guy be looking at me funny, or, you know, trying to cut me off when I'm driving? And one came where I was walking, and I went into the park, and I came back out as if I forgot something, and went and knocked on his window. I said, "Do you have the time?" Because I could tell they have a nice sport shoot. Last thing you want to do is get into a fender bender, and you got to get out and address me, right? Anyways, and I asked him, I said, "Do you have the time?" And he looked at the clock, and he looked at me, and he had a University of Waterloo logo on his jacket. It's like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
All intimidate.
Really?
That's all they do, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that the University of Waterloo is getting this much attention.
I actually went there years ago, but for some anyway, I've been to there and back, but that's decades ago.
So there was a local, what was it, Rebel News, Ryan Menzies was there, and he couldn't believe how many gay flags, LBGT flags they had. He said they have more of those flags than they do even provincial flags at this university. So the more offside you get, right? So this was the Ontario Municipals, what is it called? The Association of Municipalities of Ontario. This was their conference in August. This is where I came up with the municipal leaders. See it here, Premier Doug Ford addresses Ontario municipal leaders. So what he did, Doug Ford did an 18-minute speech. And if anybody's interested, some of this link here will take you to his 18-minute speech. He basically told all the municipalities, go for it, get out there, get your projects done. We don't care about building standards. The money is there for Ontario, Invest Ontario, get it done, right? So, but this is where, again, I got municipal leaders. So he's calling up the planners and telling them, get at it. So you've got your councillors, you've got your
and they don't
mayor,
give a damn on build quality. Or who, or
no,
what, or what's going to go into those things.
So again, here's the consultants. What are they putting in the bids when they're asking people to bid on these offers? What are they putting in for the criteria? What is the quality of the wire? Whether they're putting in electronics. What's the quality of this? Are they putting in sensors that don't let you open your fridge if you've been a bad boy or girl? Right. So this is the website, the Ontario Invest Ontario, and you can go in, partner portal, you can sign up and go in and see what funding is available, unlock expert advice and services. So this is all for the municipalities. You already know what I think of Doug Ford. So okay. So Sandy, are you going to be nice? Okay. So this is the Waterloo region. They went out to the municipalities conference. And as you can see, the one here in the white jacket in the very front, beside the girl in the wheelchair, that's the regional chair, Karen Redmond. She's the regional chair. She was the chair for the Waterloo Regional Police Board as well. You see the guy on the end here? He's the chief of police for Waterloo Region. Why the heck would he be at a municipalities conference? She really needs to, we need to tell him to take his you-know-what out of her purse and strap him back on. But you see him quite a bit with her. So why has she got her lapdog, the chief of police, down at the municipality conference? And some of these are different. I think one of them might be a mayor. Some of them are the councillors. The one in the yellow jacket is one of the councillors. I don't know who the rest of them are. But the point I'm making is the chief of police is beside her. And the chief of police, when I go on their website, there's 200 regions in Canada where the chief of police is partnering with academia. They get to sign off on what research projects get done, but I think they're getting a cut from the universities. Why does the police have a business plan? So Canada's going to get spanked pretty bad, I think. So municipal leaders and their titles. So this is not really a complete slide, but I'm started at managers of sustainability.
I think New Zealand and Australia are going to be even worse. Ireland is shocking what's going on there.
Is it still happening?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I wasn't sure how
no
bad
idea.
It was in Ireland.
And anyway,
okay,
they've sleepwalked into an extinction in Ireland.
But who's doing it? Like that's the problem. Is that they're their own people, and that's
it's their own people because they're completely mindless.
Right. So these are just
key political parties. There are assets of deep World Economic Forum. Key primary forces, to use a better, for want of a better term.
And the WEF are everywhere, right?
But it's the source of that. It's just a recent guide. I mean, this goes back. It's a Fabian agenda. The Fabian agenda is total domination and cyborg humans.
I know. And that's definitely this area. That's why they want the kids. That's why the lunch program, everybody's asking, why do they have to have a lunch program? Why would Trudeau give a damn about the kids, whether they eat? I figured they're going to, one, put vaccines in the food. And the other one, they can put graphene in because they want to start monitoring them, like I said, on the school bus. How are they going to monitor where these kids go? On Monday night.
They need to cyborg the next generation before it wakes up and turns their focus of attention, of manifestation, to destroy them. Not that I'd recommend that.
No, but we know that's what they're trying to do. That's why they want the little ones. They want to be able to definitely control the minds. All right. But my point is that's what they're putting the lunch program. Why do they care? Guess who's administering it? Mostly it's public service union employees. Somebody brought up a good point to me. What they said was there's no such thing as a public employee, public service employee. He said what they have, we have government workers. But what's happening, these unions, they all decide who they want in for a leader. And I've put this on a different video where I talked about this. So they all decide they want Doug Ford in for something. And then Doug Ford doesn't do what they want. Then they turn around and say, hey, wait a minute. We voted you in. We expect you to change your policy on this and put us first. So Ford and Trudeau have promised all the public service unions, all the big jobs and all of these,
they bought them off. Going in. And the same's happened in this country.
right? So basically they've been bought and paid for, but they all think that they're smarter than everybody else. And they're the ones who think they're going to be looking after other people's kids. And some of these guys are just, they're not very nice. They call themselves caregivers, but I'm going to go into that. But again, these are just some of the titles that I found.
Care is one of the other key words which has a bit of baggage.
Bohemian Grove, the cremation of care. So you've got everything in Waterloo Region's about care for the elderly, care for the children, caregiver, because they're also caring. And basically what they're doing is mocking compassion and caring. They're saying, oh, I'm a caregiver, right? So that's giving them rights to the children, because that's all you have to be as a caring adult, which I'm going to get into. Again, I don't have to go through all these, but these are just some of the titles that you're going to get for people, So people in these positions, so supervisor of IT, I apologize if there's any spelling errors. I forgot to go back and check. But we start to realize that they're all going to be called different things in different areas. But the point is, these people are in charge. They're the municipal leaders in their sections. So it's important that we understand that when we, as we're dealing with trying to figure out what roles they're playing. I haven't got this one finished yet, but I left it in here anyways. Hierarchy of local government. So these people in the municipality out in Wilmot, they think they're so smart. They say, oh, I can't answer that because the region decides, or they defer it to the province, or they defer it to the federal government. So when they had this towel up, this turban day on Canada Day, they had Sikh students from the 2 universities that approached the council and wanted to have a tent so they could show people how to wrap their head in turbans. So even the students are driving the council. So now we just they had a consultation, a consultant come out and talk about their new community services plan, the plan for Wilmot. And even the consultant is saying, we strongly suggest, I don't know the exact wording, that the mayor and the staff, the council and staff support this plan. So even the consultants are directing the government. But what I'm trying to say is the elected positions, it's the constituents that come first. They elect the position of mayor, council, school board trustees. As part of the requirement for mayor, they have to sit on certain councils, but they don't. They'll say, oh, because I'm the mayor, I have to sit on the region, but that deals with the region. You can't talk about it in our township, even if the building is in the township. These people are absolutely fake. This is the daughter of that Carolyn Sullivan. And then requirements for the counselors. So I'm going to have this slide ready to go at some point. And what I want to do with this slide, I want people to be able to remember when they're talking to these counselors, no, we come first. When you got elected as the mayor in our township, you knew you were going to have to sit on different boards. It's not that those boards are more important than us. We are at the top. I really want to invert that pyramid again. The constituents, the voters are the ones you answer to.
Are you suggesting there's some kind of democracy would be working where the people are involved rather than corporate psychopathic control freaks?
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? They're psychopathic or sociopathic, but they sit and smile to you all the time to make it look like they're disarming. This was the property, I can't remember if I said this when we were recording or not, out in Baden. And they say that there's going to be 487 units. And if you can see on the more or less the top side, there's 32 single dwellings. And what down in stage 3, they use words like stage 3, street 1, street 2. So, and then they use longitude and latitude, so nobody knows where this is. So, but this is where the school's going to be. But when you look here, this looks like long row houses. That's where I asked if it was dorms, and she assured it wasn't. And that's where the man who spoke in front of me said that it was graded backward. He goes, you've got it graded 100% opposite, 180 degrees opposite of how it should be. He goes, you're going to flood out our houses. And I'm like, that's the plan. That's how they're going to get your existing properties. This is the artist's rendition. Again, so they're saying that all this in the yellow is single detached, 487 on 48 acres. They lie through their teeth, but we're catching on. That's good though. So, okay, Chrystia Freeland, this is funny, but it's not. So in the budget, she wants $15 million to advance a low-cost flood insurance program for next year. So the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation is going to be financing this. They're also financing and giving the developers money for the builds for all these subdivisions. So my opinion of what Chrystia Freeland is doing, they don't want the federal government to have to pay out the floods. So they want to bring a co-insurance in, so they have to pay for some of it. She's a piece of work, that one. So when I was looking at that subdivision, they're telling us that they've met all of these planning acts, the provincial requirements, the provincial policy statement, the place to grow plan, the regional official plan, the township of Wilmot plan. Now they've come out with what they call a community services plan. And now they've come out with a strategic plan for Wilmot Township for 2024 to 2027. 2024 is almost over. So they keep coming out with all these new plans. So nobody knows where they're really at. I'm just going to briefly just talk about this. This was a letter from one of the planners from 2010. They were the original ones that came up with the regional plan. He comes out and he says, what the hell are you doing? Like, all this was set up way back when.
That's Wilmot farmland
expropriation.
Appropriation, yeah.
That's that's what this particular letter is about. But it's like, there was no planning for this. Why are you doing this? But they don't care. They just, we don't, we had to sign a do not disclose document. Did you campaign on signing those documents? So this is where we really get at the local yokels, I think. So that was just, again, the letter. So again, the original official plan, it was signed back in 2010. Oh, new plan. The region's got a plan. This township's got a plan. That township's got a plan. It's just like a big shell game. And then the Smart City Waterloo. So this is Wilmot Township that says that they're part of the Smart City Waterloo, which plans on imprisoning everybody with these 15-minute corridors. And then I come back to how they're going to do it to us, right? So I didn't put the universities up here, but I did put the university, the global university systems. But this is basically how organized they are. So some of this deals with my area, more so Canada, but some of it's global as well. But this is how they're planning on doing it to us. This is why when somebody says, oh, follow ICLEI, follow one thing, that's not how this works. I've gone and looked under C40 cities. I've gone under the Global Covenant of Mayors. I've gone under the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. There's an organization under there. Guess what? They all support the Ukraine. Money goes to the Ukraine. And these are all the same people that want to take us over, right?
Well, I have to say, seeing a Ukrainian flag flying on British Army bases is horrendous.
It's like nobody has any balls anymore. Like the police don't have any military. Nobody stands up to any of these people. That's my opinion. Right. So the difference. So I'm looking at this. People are they're very like laxy-daisy kind of about all this. Yeah, well, whatever. We'll go to a meeting, but they're not doing much. The difference between good and evil has a plan and it has a sense of urgency. The fellow that, what was his name? Van Beggen from ICLEI. He's like, get it done. Ford is like, get it done. Trudeau's like, get it done. They all have a sense of urgency and they've got the financing in place.
Well, they're certainly rushing at it now.
So that's good because they're making mistakes, but we still have to speed up our energy and the earth energies are speeding up, but we have to speed up how fast we comprehend things and even moving into getting things done ourselves. Again, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of drag in the community. You wouldn't believe how many people have come out asking me questions and you realize they're not good people. They want to know what's going on. They'll ask me about something and then you realize that was really a stupid thing to say, or tell me I'm in the wrong area. I shouldn't be working on what I'm working on. That's usually a dead giveaway that you're over the target, right? Why would somebody say that? Go work on what you want to work on. I'll work on what I want to work on. So my point is there's a lot of people trying to distract. Good has yet to comprehend the evil that is planned at their expense. And like I said, we're going to be the guinea pigs, nor does good understand time is of the essence. They're all like, yeah. So people are going to get hurt before people start cluing in, is what I'm saying. This was the United Nations address, the Secretary General, the Summit of the Future.
That was yesterday.
That was yesterday, right? So basically what they're saying is they're going after the kids, they're going after the youth. They're saying power structure and fully digitalized and maximized for control of the masses. Everyone will be expected to have a biodigital ID that marks them not just as a citizen of an individual country, but a global citizen. This is Dr. Tenpenny was talking about this, and I just wrote down her stuff. It says perpetrators for unapproved information will be fact-checked. So if you say the wrong thing, you're going to get in trouble. Punishment will include locked out of one's bank accounts, being unable to make certain purchases. So she's reading this off of their declaration is what I got. This according to the world's self-appointed overlords at the UN. And then it says the onset of one world government, religion, and money. And unless the people in the positions of trust and authority do not stand against this abomination, they will be the ones tasked with coming for you. And they're going to do it. That's the sad part of it, right? They have no problems about doing this. So going back to the women again, this was on the whatever that summit comment was. So the UN Women's he for she. So the men had better back the women, or else if you don't back the women, then you're not a man. This is the feminazi brigade again, who don't care about anybody but themselves. So they're talking about gender inequality. The women want the jobs out in farmland. They want the agriculture jobs. They want the farmers. The males gone. Like I don't know how they don't see a balance in life, but they don't seem to see that it's all about them.
He for she means basically all men die.
I wouldn't doubt
that. They don't need men for anything.
Right.
That's why so many young kids are committing suicide. They have no future.
They think, but things are going to change. I do believe that, but it's going to take a lot to make it happen. I think we're looking at Kamala Harris down in the U.S. right now. I'm just going to leave this up so people can read it. But she's blowing up left, right, and center. Like, how can she be a presidential candidate when she was never voted in?
They don't care.
Things are blowing up left, right, and center down there. So I think there's enough people that are seeing what's happening. So flood emergencies, as the World Food Program responds to the flood emergencies they know we're going to have because they're going to create them.
Well, you're going to get more flooding because of the collapse of the magnetic field, which is why the upper atmosphere is getting heavily radiated, which creates more moisture in the atmosphere. But they're not telling anybody about the magnetic field collapse or its inversion.
So there's a few things. There's a few things happening there, and they're heating up the sewage lines. So the sewage, what happens is when the sewage goes into the treatment plant and it's warm, then they put it back in the marine for it to be cleansed through the silt and the sand and the shale and the agate. But they're heating that water up, so that's also going to bring up climate change.
Well, by heating the water up, it's going to.
I think it's going to heat up the atmosphere somewhat because we're only talking about 1 or 2 degrees. That it's going to heat up.
Well,
it's
not going to heat up naturally. It's going to get cold naturally.
So what I'm saying, I'm not saying they're. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't believe what they're doing is right. I think they don't even understand what you're talking about. So they're coming up with their own way to manipulate
about what's going on in the real world.
I totally agree with you, but they're doing their own little steps of manipulation, thinking they've got all the controls, and it's like, guys. Right. So that's what I see that their level of manipulation is, that they think that they're smarter than everybody else. So this is pedophilic Ontario for you. So this is the region, Ontario. You see the logo at the bottom, Waterloo region, Anishinaabe First Nations, and the YMCA. You see this man talking to this little girl. This is an early on programs from 0 to age 6. And it says this early on child and family centers offer a range of quality drop-in programs that are free and open to parents, caring adults. So there's the pedophile word, and their children ages 0 to 6. And if you look up in the corner here over top of the girl's head, you see a picture there, and it's a baby with black eyes, a toddler with black eyes. And now,
where's that?
We know can you see right where that is?
Right.
On the shelf. So you can see it's a face and it has black eyes. So some people won't agree with you when you say, oh, it's pedophilia and it's sodomy and it's panda eyes. Okay. So that's what's being advertised. This is what's going around in our mailboxes because your government cares so much that you have free programs for your children and the caregivers. So this is what's on the back of the bus. Notice they're advertising for pedophiles. But what is on the back of the bus now, it has early on the logo over where the panda eyes was. Then it says free drop-in programs for children ages 0 to 6 and their families. So they're lying. They're doing a bait and switch. They're saying, caregivers, come on, you can have these kids. But then on the back of the bus, they do a bait and switch. Here's another one. Love your neighborhood children. These hearts, in my opinion, are the girl lover logo. This Lisa Doherty is the vice chair of this. She says,
"Could you explain the girl lover logo?"
Okay, so they're advertising that little girls are available to be sexually abused, or sexually available, as they would probably call it. All right, so you can see you've got the triangles here. You've got other logos like the butterflies that are girl lover. You see the adult and the child here, and the upside down flag. I don't know if that's a trans flag or what have you, but it's called Love Your Neighborhood Communities. People are dubbing it Love Your Neighborhood Children. And she's saying that it's about provide affordable housing, social connection, and food security. When you look at the back, this is the mayor I'm talking about. Oh, hang on a sec. So I was talking about the mayor in the next township. So she's here. This is in her area. When you look, these three people, I think, are on the board for this Love Your Neighborhood community. The guy beside her is Scott Pietkowski. He's one of the trustees that wants pedophilia, like the, what do you call that? The pornography in the schools. The guy beside him is Tim Lewis. Now he's an MP in a different riding. I don't know why he's here. There, then you've got Karen Redmond, the chair of the Waterloo Regional Police Board. I think she's the vice chair now and the regional chair. And there's that chief of police. Why would he be there? Then you see they're going to do some renovating. You've got two little girls with their backs to the camera. There's no safety in that picture. They're looking over a mezzanine with a man looking over them. Do you know who Krampus is, the monster in European folklore? Eastern European folklore that stole the kids. So I come down to this picture. Here's Steve Pietkowski. So he's in that riding. Again, the MP, Tim Lewis. The way he's sitting there, it's not normal. You can't really see it from here, but he's not sitting there in a normal way. You've got Karen Redmond with her hand on his back. You've got the chief of police there again. And then you've got Mayor Solonen, whose mother is in part of ResearchGate in the university. But these two here are kind of supporting him. They've got their hand on his back. It turns out he's going to be the construction company, a good Christian company, of course. And he's going to be the one who's going to be building this. So they're advertising in plain sight. When I tried to bring this up at the meeting, I got shut down twice. First time I mentioned sexual assaults in the rec centers, the mayor, she flies right to the microphone. She's ready to shut me off right then. Mention it again, same behavior. So this is kind of what I came up with for advice for people. You can't work in every community. Basically work in your own and just see what you can do. Start building profiles on your regional chair, council staff, mayors, etc. You can go into any LinkedIn program or any kind of a social, what do you call that? Social media profile program where they're advertising themselves. You can find out what schools they went to. A lot of the people in Wilmot went to Laurier, Wilfrid Laurier, University of Waterloo, or University of Toronto, or Western. So there's a little hub of all of them going to the same school, which means they probably were in the same secret societies. They've got their own little, where are they meeting? So you can view the profiles on social media, look for the following, track what universities they attended, their occupation, job titles, current and past, what field their PhD is in. And I'm not kidding, philosophy. They have a thought, but they walk around saying, I've got a PhD. What have you got? But we need to ask, what's your PhD in? So you have a concept, 6 genders and 58 sexual identities. You know what I think needs to happen? I think we need to start asking these people, go milk a bull. And when you're done, you come back and tell me the bull thinks it's a cow. And do you know what I mean? Like it's just gone to Stupidville, that the arguments that, oh, you're transphobe if you mention anything about it. So that's what I think needs to happen. Find out who they're friends with, who they communicate online with. I'm finding on there's one of the counselors out in Wilmot, Lillian Dunstall. So when some of the people were speaking up, going, "Why are you promoting turbans on Canada Day? Like, when was this planned?" She goes, "Anybody wants to talk about racism, you take it up with me." And she starts bullying them to the point that they take their Facebook page down. Right? She's one of the counselors doing that. Like, it is absolutely insane. She's also the counselor in Ward 4, where Love Your Neighborhood community children are. But she hasn't asked me when I'm saying that this is going on. She didn't ask for any kind of proof or verification. So I watch when she goes and posts something, I watch all the other counselors, family members go and like her posts. So you're starting to see that there's more people involved in this. So maybe let's say one of them was Counselor Cressman. Maybe it's a brother or a cousin or a son. But maybe they're getting some sort of a financial benefit because maybe they work in one of the companies that he's sending money to through the projects, right? Who likes to post what their interests are, pronouns if they indicate them. A lot of these people will put down that they follow Chrystia Freeland or Justin Trudeau, even if they're NDP or somebody else. But let's put an end to this insanity is kind of where I'm going with what I'm saying. Like we need to look at it at a local level. And I'm not saying anything about being violent. I'm not saying take a baseball bat to anybody. I'm just saying sooner or later, they have to realize we see exactly what you're doing. We need to know what they're doing so that we don't create it again. We don't let it come in next time. I think questions should be asked up front. Do you think adults should have sex with children?
Yeah, I think up front, there's no point being polite anymore. be. It's not good to be impolite, but we don't have to be polite and reserved.
So they know that they smile at you because of reciprocity. So if they smile at you, they expect you to smile back. And that I learned that a couple of years ago with down at that courthouse with some of those I don't know if they were cops or not, or like old retired cops that were working for private investigator. But the one who keeps smiling at me, I would just look at him.
I think there's a movie about that. There's a horror movie about everybody smiling at you. But we used to call them the smiling assassins.
I haven't heard that term before. But my point is they try to disarm you because they smile. And you think, oh, they must be nice. No, that's just part of their training. Right?
But if it's a fake smile, it's a sign of extreme premeditated aggression. And they should be treated as such.
Right. And they know exactly what they're doing, all of them. I don't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. When I showed you that
but bus, you should immediately explain that you are giving me passive premeditated aggression.
That would
Fight
be interesting.
Them, push them back, expose them.
Yeah. But some of them don't care because they'll just come at it from another angle. They don't. So if I agree with what you're saying, Miles, that's a really good point to say that. Right, because they all come out and smile at you.
They'll come up with, "Oh, you're being passive aggressive," you know.
Yeah, but you know what I'm like. I probably would have a comeback for that too.
Well,
I don't know what I would have.
I'm appreciating your very mild, reserved presentation.
Today it is very reserved
for Basis
right?
2024.
Yes,
I've got
I have no idea what number we're at, but I really appreciate you taking the time to let me go through this with you today, Miles. I really appreciate this getting out. And I'm hoping regardless where you live, you can take information, start looking at your local players. They get it. They get you don't get it. They
it's
don't
all
care,
in the local area that you live in, no matter where you live. And unfortunately, it seems to be the British Empire countries who are leading the world on this.
Totally, because they want us gone, and we see that. But so, Miles, where can people find you? Do you want to share your information?
I'm building a new site, the basistv.com, and the main site to access that is basistv.org, because we've set up an independent channel with all our own stuff on it. I'm on Basis. I'm on YouTube as the Basis Project Censored, and they just censored something last week. My friend Jane Shattuck had a number of messages for humanity, and the messages for the leaders of humanity was censored, deleted. And what's more, YouTube wanted my feedback on that. And I'm also the Basis Project Restricted, which is a site I park stuff on. And I've been doing a thing for a while for people who've just starting on this called Stepping Stones to Awareness. And I'm on Rumble as the Basis Project, and Brighteon on the with the Basis Project, and BitChute.
Yes, but BitChute as well. I think I've seen you there. And I'm on BitChute and YouTube mostly. And a lot of my videos that are a little more detailed or might be questionable, I put them on BitChute. They're not on YouTube because YouTube will just get rid of them. Are you
suggesting that something that you would do, somebody would question it?
Well, there's people who talk about certain things, and it's just the one word comes up. Or if I mention the pedophilia, I've even put that in the title on YouTube, and they banned it just because it was in the title. You know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely insane, the censorship.
I actually had a guy called Mark Steele up, and I had him creeping into frame and just about to open his mouth, and they banned that. I got a strike for that. He didn't even say, he appeared on frame, and that was enough.
Isn't that interesting? I haven't seen him in a while, but I really appreciate his work too.
Well, Sandy, we have another Sandy here in the UK called Sandy Adams. I think there's two dangerous names. There's a Karen. You don't argue with a Karen with a K, and the other one is Sandy.
I think I've seen one of her videos on 15 Minute City.
She did a really the whole thing at Glastonbury and got about something like 15 million hits, explaining the whole agenda 20 and 50 and 30 and of all the rest of it. And they've since infiltrated that council, and that's the one that's planning the flooding of the Somerset levels and wiping out all the farmland there.
Interesting. I wonder if I should reach out to her. Yes. I wonder if I should reach out to her and just compare and show how we can compare the UK from Canada, and if we can compare two different areas where we don't know each other.
Well, I have to say, she's a blonde as well.
Yes,
another Sandy causing trouble. That's a blonde. Oh, that's something going on there.
Who knew, right?
Okay,
So thank
really,
you, everybody.
thank you very much. I'll put this as a presentational thing as well, Basis 2024 on the Basis
Perfect.
2024 online conference series.
Excellent. And
So
I
that'll
have a
be
few
on
other
twice.
ones. Okay. And I have a few other ones that I've done, like a consolidation, how they've consolidated all the companies. And there's other ones that I've done if you want to go through. And I still have my slide deck. I can go through it with you if you want to put them on at
We'll
another
do
time.
that next time.
There you go. Okay. Have fun, everybody.
And
Stay
until
out of
next
trouble.
time, I don't have to do anything. You close the meeting.
There you go.
You called me.
There you go. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Yeah.
Take good care.
Recording stopped.
That was good. I hope it wasn't too long, but
It was perfect. It was just fine. And that's me. I'm going to switch my recorders off remotely.
Okay.
There they are. As you
Wow.
can see that. Oh, isn't that wonderful? I'm doing this.
Wow.